Hi, I'm Larry Dignan from Constellation Insights, and we're here with Marcus Rader. He's CEO of Hostaway, which does vacation rental software. Hi, Marcus. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Larry, thank you very much for having me.
So, I guess for starters, just walk me through what Hostaway does and how it got its start.
Sure. We're pretty young. We're having our 10th anniversary this year. What we do is very simple. We provide software for vacation rental property managers. Now, if you've ever stayed at a vacation rental, um, typically they can fall into either one of two categories. Either it's someone who bought the neighbor's house and is renting it out and they live next door, or which is way more common, it's managed by a property manager on behalf of the owner who probably lives somewhere else. And these property managers, sometimes they have 10 properties, sometimes they have 100 properties. Our biggest customer has 8,000 properties that they manage in 6 different countries. Um, and they need a platform, a piece of software that can manage their entire operation from accounting, paying owners, marketing, sales, operations, cleaning. Because one thing that makes vacation rentals very different from the other travel and hospitality industries is that there is no physical presence. When you rent a beach home, you rent it in order to be there privately. Unlike a hotel, which you stay in a hotel because there is a front desk, or an airline, you go with an airplane because they have flight attendants and they have a check-in desk, because there's people there who take care of things if they break down. But what you're looking for in a vacation rental is something that's private and typically remote, which means that all our customers are running remote operations. For that, you need software to know what's going on. And we're partnered with the biggest companies in the space, such as Airbnb, VRBO, and Booking.com.
So, it's kind of an ERP system for vacation rentals.
Exactly.
Okay. And how did this get a start?
So we have quite a different story compared to most of our competitors. Most vertical softwares are started by people who are running a business in a certain industry and then start building tools for that and then start selling those tools. We did the exact opposite. So we're actually software people, but we had no experience whatsoever in vacation rentals when we started this 10 years ago. So our first step was to learn what is short-term rentals, what are vacation rentals all about. So we started renting out properties just to learn, in addition to talking to people, and then we started building the tools. We're so far the only global solution that's really available. There's a couple of really great solutions out there that are quite local. For example, they only have customers in the US, or they only have customers in France. And as far as I can tell, we're the only global company. Our first customer was in Portugal. Our first office was in Barcelona, and I'm the CEO. I'm sitting in Miami right now.
So, you really had to take a child's eye to this, where you were sort of learning first. What did you pick up in terms of customer experience and UI and things like that since you came to the industry, basically cold?
So one of the great things with entering a new industry is that any industry you look at, they will have preconceived notions of how things are supposed to be done or how people think. And some of those truths are true, but the people who call themselves industry experts, they are often the last ones to notice when things change. And that's exactly why so many industries can be disrupted. You have a bunch of people who do whatever they've always been doing, like, let's say taxi. That's not a new industry, but they were just doing the same cab rides they've been doing for 50 years, and then suddenly Uber came and took everything away. And that's one of the nice things with being new in an industry. You don't have to you don't have any opinions. You just have to listen to what the customers want, and then you can build that, because you don't have the experience to say, no, we're not going to build that. That's not what you really want. So we were able to very quickly build a platform that was easy to use, but at the same time could adapt to the many different needs that our customers have.
So, is the platform kind of horizontal or is it more vertical? I know it's industry focused, but if you're plugging into Airbnb and it sounds like you're almost white label to some degree. I guess how would you characterize your approach? Is it vertical or horizontal?
At least the investors like to call us vertical software as a service, B2B, focused on the SMB segment. It's worth noting that although we can have big customers with, let's say, 500 properties, they would still not be big companies. They would still maybe have maximum 20 full-time employees and another 50 freelancers or contractors in addition to that. So yeah, that's how we categorize our business.
Okay, so it's more SM. What are some of the challenges focusing on those smaller companies?
One of the great things that has propelled our growth is that we have been able to use the lessons learned from other verticals. And this is something that's incredibly powerful, because if you're building a software for one industry alone, you're probably going to be the first one, or you're doing something that nobody else has done before. But then you can learn from other industries. So we have been looking at vertical SaaS across the world who have been successful and some who have failed, and we learn all our lessons from there. Some of the challenges when it comes to SMB is that you have small business owners typically who may not, first of all, know how to run a business. So think about your any local business. Maybe you have a gas station, maybe you have a nail salon. Some of those people are great at what they're doing, but they may not be the best managers in the world. They may not be the best accountants in the world. They may not be the best HR professionals in the world, because they're just running a gas station. And that's the same thing in any industry. If you focus on SMB, you're going to meet people who are very passionate about the work they're doing, but they do not have all the skills that you have if you're selling to a company with 50,000 employees that has everything set out. They have their own legal team, they have their own HR team, they have their own finance team, and so on. That's one of the challenges. One challenge that quite often comes up in SMB is that if let's say you're building software for nail salons or dentists, then if the business doesn't work out, the business just disappears. And so if a dentist decides to move to a different location, the business just disappears. And that's one of the great things with us, because the real estate assets that our customers manage on behalf of the owner, those are pretty fixed. I mean, when you got that beach house, you can't just pack up the bags and move to a different country and take the beach house with you. No, even if the owner decides to sell the beach house to a new owner, typically someone is going to manage it on behalf of the new owner. And if a property manager says, that's it, I give up, I'm retiring, that beach house is still going to sit there, and it's still going to need a property manager. So we have a lot less turnover than many other industries.
So it's kind of a case where the actual company behind the management can turn over, but the assets are sticky. So that makes managing the assets sticky, I guess.
Exactly.
Okay. And you recently raised a bunch of money from General Atlantic and a few others. And, I saw it, I guess your rationale was, scaling the business and AI and innovation. How are you approaching AI, especially for those, SMB market?
AI is extremely important in our segment because just like any hospitality business, the biggest expense is either the time you spend trying to delegate and teaching your staff, or the money that you're paying your staff. So every hour, every minute counts. And AI has the potential to save a lot of time and money, and where it's one of our top priorities for 2025 to build out that functionality for our clients.
And is that, are you choosing to build or buy? And, I guess, the data, getting your data in line is a big deal for AI. I guess, what precursor work have you done?
So we are already the front runner compared to the competition. We were the first ones to launch many functionalities related to AI in our space. There is certainly room for acquisitions, but one of the things to keep in mind is that just most of these companies that have managed to get a foothold in anything AI related, they're usually no older than 2 years old. which means everything they build can be probably built by someone else in less than 2 years. And that's a bit of a challenge for acquisitions. And also, typically their businesses are not that big, so it would be a technology acquisition only. But if the technology is something that's very easy and quick to build, which is the whole driver behind AI, that development will be fast, then the question is, does it make sense to actually acquire that rather than build it yourself?
Yeah, so it's more about organic.
It's a double-edged sword. With AI, you can quickly enter a market, and you can quickly build the product for AI purposes because you got all the frameworks ready. But then anyone else can copy that. And if you want to be acquired, you're essentially going to be just selling your technology, which if you're basing it on OpenAI, it's not even your technology. So you don't even own it. So it's a bit of a double-edged sword right now for AI related vertical companies.
How much do you think about process in terms of efficiency with property management, and how do you use AI to build that into the software?
Great question. So we first of all, internally within our company, efficiency is everything that we work for, and that's why we wanted to build this company. We hate inefficiencies, especially when a company makes a decision and then 2 years later revert it, and everyone has to change, and then you revert it again, and then you have to do the same thing. You're basically paying 3 times the price and time to reach the same end goal. That's my definition of inefficiency, and that's absolutely terrible. And I see, of course, a lot of smaller property managers struggle with that. Their business is doing well until one day it isn't, and they don't know why. And there's a ton of people out there who are more than willing to tell them, hey, if you just give me some money, I will solve all of your problems. I think it's one of the challenges for all business owners, is that whatever your problem is, there's always someone willing to take your money. And we're trying to make it as easy as possible for them to choose the right solution to solve not all of the problems, but most of the problems, at least when it comes to operational efficiency.
Okay. What keeps you up at night?
Right now, there's not a lot of worries, to be honest. I think our industry, vacation rentals, is very strong. It's moving in the right direction. There was a big, I would say 5-10 years ago, there was a bit of a question of whether people actually, if this is a trend that's gonna stop, or whether people actually prefer staying in vacation homes. And now I think the game is over. 15% of all accommodation takes place in vacation homes, whereas just a decade ago it was less than 5%. So vacation homes are here to stay. At the same time, real estate prices globally are increasing, which means that fewer and fewer people can afford to buy that cottage that every family could buy just 50 years ago. You could buy a second home, but nowadays that's getting harder and harder. So, and at the same time, the people that do own homes, they tend to own more and more expensive homes, which doesn't make sense because you only have 52 weeks every year. You can't, if you got 10 properties, you can't spend 52 weeks at each of those, and they cost money to keep. So to offset those costs, you rent them out. So everything is pointing in the direction of continued success for vacation.
All right. Thanks for joining us.
All right. Thank you.